Hello friends, you're welcome back to Pro Design channel. Today we are diving into how you can use V-Ray Lightmix in SketchUp to create stunning visuals with multiple HDRIs in just one render, guys. In just one render. Stay tuned to learn how to enhance your architectural visualizations with dynamic lighting techniques. Alright, let's start by setting up our scene in SketchUp. We want to make sure that our scene is rightly set up. I've got a simple exterior model here that I downloaded from lumionvietnam.com. You can as well check it out. It's full of helpful materials that will help your visualization. To know the best render setting for your scenes in different scenarios, check out my video on best render setting. So in this case, we have our environment tab here. It's either we switch this from black to white or sky blue, something like that, just to represent sky, or we go to our texture slot here and then we just pick the sky. In my case here, I will just pick a sky texture, which automatically imputes the sky texture for the sun, and that is good. Once we've selected that, we want to also bring the intensity of our texture here to about 30 so that it will be bright enough. Then we can check what we have first. We want to come to the exposure and make sure it is at least bright. This is not where we are going, but just for us to know that we have our model in place and we are good to go with the HDRI aspect. Once we have set up our scene basically for render, the next thing we want to do is to configure our light mix. To do that, go to the V-Ray asset editor and under render elements tab, right click to open the asset creation menu, and then you see light mix. Select light mix. This feature allows us to manage multiple lighting scenarios without re-rendering the scene each time. Once that is selected, you want to come to the parameter and select the options that best suits you. Do you want the individual lights to be listed? If you have 1,000 lights, it will list them individually. If you have a very complex scene, you do not want to select this. You want to make sure you group your lights in instances that when you edit a light, it edits the group, you know. So that's what you want to select for complex settings. For the sake of this tutorial and for you to actually get things right in detail, I will select the individual lights so that we can see the list of all the lights within the scene. What the group instances does basically is that you've grouped a particular light, and if they are in instances, it shows just as one light, so you can use that light to edit the rest of the light within the scene. That will save you a lot of time when you're dealing with complex scenes. Let's leave it at individual lights, and once that is selected, we go into the configuration of our HDRI light. Now navigate to the V-Ray light tab and select V-Ray dome light. You can place it anywhere within the scene. Let me place it here. Come to the V-Ray asset editor. By default, it would have appeared under the light section, and here click on the dome light, and under the parameters we want to load our preferred HDRI image. By default, the texture slot would have been loaded with the V-Ray sky. We want to change that. We just go to our file and load our preferred file. We are using 3 different HDRIs to illustrate a day, an evening, and night scenario. Now that we've set that, we want to name this as day. Repeat this process for each HDRI you want to use. Once you've added your HDRIs, it's crucial to adjust their settings. There are 2 very important settings that you need to be familiar with when you're setting your HDRI. The first is the intensity. The second is the rotation. To play with the intensity, you can come to the parameter. For the sake of this tutorial, let me just put this as 30. To come to the rotation, click on color texture, the texture map. Then we want to come down to texture placement. Under texture placement, come to the rotate H, that's rotate horizontally. Then you want to set that to minus 210. Good. For the evening, we'll like to set our intensity to 20. Then come to the texture placement. For horizontal rotation, we want to set it to minus 269.8. Then for our night, set the intensity and leave it at 10. We want to come to the texture slot under texture placement as well. Then we want to set this to 318.4. So it is by playing with these settings and adjusting it that you'll find what's best for your scene. With our HDRIs setup, let's do a quick render to see how they look together. This is combining the HDRIs that we've inserted all together. It's combining the night, the evening, and the day file all together to give us a combined light setup. And that is the beauty of Lightmix. You can adjust the intensity of each of the light during or after the render. After rendering, open the Lightmix tab in the V-Ray frame buffer. Click on it. Once we've clicked on that, we'll see all our lights listed. Guys, we can see that all the lights are listed individually. I would recommend that you group your lights and instance them so that when you are editing them in the Lightmix, it won't be so cumbersome. Now we have all our lights listed, including our HDRI. We have the day, the evening, and the night. As we can see, everything is rendered together. All the reflections for the day, all the sky, the texture, everything is included in one scene. We can toggle the evening and the night if we want the scene to be a day scene. So let's do that. We toggle this. It's still looking dull, right? But we will play with the intensity here. So this is the intensity, so we can play with the intensity of this. Let's set this to 30. There is one thing we want to go back to do, as this is just looking like an overcast. We don't want an overcast day, we want a sunny day. So let's do something. Let me go back to the scene. In my scene, I want to come to the sunlight. Okay, the sun is okay. Let me hide the vegetation here, and let me see solely for the day alone. Let me render solely for the day alone, so that I'll be able to check what is actually happening with this day. Now it's set to 30 intensity. Now we can see this is looking like an evening scene, but I actually want this to look like a day. You know, there is one thing that you need to set. Let's wrap our color texture here for the day with color correction. Now in the color correction tab, come to the lightness mode, change this to gain gamma lift. As you reduce the gamma value here, the sun intensity increases. Let's preview as we do our settings. All right, now if I increase the gamma here, it becomes darker, you can see. But if I reduce the gamma, the sun intensity in the texture becomes brighter. So that is how it is. So I'll just set this to 0.96. So this is a way to tweak your HDRI files. And also under the gain, I want to increase the gain to about 1.13. Now let's check the update. Now we can see the sun is beginning to intensify around our building. So you can still come to the light mix, and maybe we want to bring this up a bit to about 3. Now we are getting to a day scene. Let me turn off the sharp and the noiser, so we can see this, the shadow, the soft shadow around our building. And let's still try and see if we can intensify on the brightness. Let's turn on the exposure, or we come to this if we don't have exposure again to create another exposure layer. Then we can try to slide it up or down, slide it until we get a perfect scenario for our day scene. So now this is getting bright. Then probably we want to increase the contrast. So basically guys, this is how you achieve your day scene with your Lightmix. Let us try for the evening and the night as well. Let me turn this off, then toggle on the evening. Basically this is how you continue to set your scene until you achieve the result that you have for each scene before you finally render. For the evening scene that I'm seeing here, we wouldn't necessarily have to do so much work because this is looking really great already. We might just want to come to the light scene, and then we'll see the Lightmix have already listed our evening one, and here we can have exposure for each of the scenarios. Let me bring another exposure up, come here, and then you see exposure. So this exposure now that is already here is the one for the day. I don't think there's a way you can rename, but you know this is an exposure that you had for the day. Just toggle that off, then you bring the new exposure now that is for the evening, and that is what you want to set for that. All right, so something like this, or even lesser, 0.2. all right, so now guys, we can see an evening scene. Very nice. We can come here to the rest. This rest here is where the Lightmix stores the reflections of light on glass, on walls. So here as well you can do a lot with this. Here we can reduce how much of the light is reflected on the glass. So you just toggle it down so that it looks realistic. We can see the difference now. If I toggle the rest off, you see light is not bouncing, light is not calculated around the reflective areas or reflective surfaces. But once I turn it on, you see the light around the environment is now reflecting on our glass. So this is very cool guys. So there are different ways in which you can save yourself time, save yourself stress using Lightmix. Just play with it guys, it has a lot to offer guys. So this is an evening scene which is very cool. I love this. You can also play around with tone of the light. Let's stop this and let's quickly move to our night scene. Let me turn this off. Let us preview how our night scene looks like. Great, now we have this. Let me create another exposure for our night, and let me stop this. Now we have an exposure. All right, and let's try and bring this in, and then come to the Lightmix. We have our night listed, which is looking good. Let's come to rest. Let's turn this to 1. Let's see what happens with 1. 1 is not bad, 1 is good. So these are the things that you need to just keep checking back and forth. And also our light here you have to brighten your lights. Also, let's increase this to 2 because it's night now. Let's increase. All right, that's how you do. Make sure the lights within the scenes are increased. So basically this is our night scene, and to even go further for the HDRI itself, we want to give a blue tint to that and probably increase the intensity just to show the night effect around here. You can further fine-tune your scene by adjusting exposure, contrast, and saturation in the buffer frame. Experiment with different combinations to see how dramatically you can alter the mood without needing to re-render the scene. And there you have it. Using V-Ray Lightmix with multiple HDRIs in one render can dramatically enhance your project's flexibility and visual appeal. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more tutorials like this one.